How do products from your local farmer end up on your plate? What happens to food waste? Can we offer quality food in the fight against food poverty? Integrated urban food policies can answer these questions. And the FoodTrails project is helping cities develop their own to positively impact food systems. From farm to fork. The project operates under the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact and responds to the EU Food 2030 policy. Each partner city is running a living lab to find tangible solutions to specific food issues. From developing food councils to coordinating food aid, from strategic public procurement to food education. In FoodTrails, collaboration is a key ingredient. At the local level, relevant stakeholders are involved in designing solutions. And at project level, researchers and European cities come together to exchange and learn from each other. Create your own recipe for more sustainable, healthy and inclusive urban food policies. Join the FoodTrails momentum.
Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here. Welcome for this already 5th episode of the FoodTrails Webinar series, Midday Munchies on urban food policy. Before we start diving into today's topic, I'll give you a few words about the FoodTrails project. So as mentioned in the video, it's a 4-year EU-funded Horizon 2020 project that aims to translate the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact collective commitment to integrating urban food policies into measurable and long-term progress towards sustainable food systems. The project worked with 11 European cities in supporting them to implement sustainable, healthy, and inclusive food policies. So very nice to meet you. I am Lucie Jeandrain, Urban Food Project Officer at Eurocities, and I will be moderating today's webinar. Short introduction of who is Eurocities as a FoodTrails partner. Eurocities is a leading network of over 200 major European cities, working together to ensure good quality of life for all our citizens. And one of our 7 goals is to support urban food systems, which we are happily doing through the FoodTrails project, amongst other activities. I am here today with Betina Bergmann Madsen, our cross-cutting manager focused on climate and also working for the city of Copenhagen. With Astrid Joubert, food governance project manager for Bordeaux Métropole, and Nadia Tonoli, the city officer for the city of Bergamo. Next slide, please. So what is this webinar series about for the ones who haven't followed all the previous episodes so far? After almost 4 full years of the project, this webinar series aims at sharing beyond the project's consortium the knowledge and experience that have been built by the FoodTrails cities and experts. Each webinar aims to promote the application of solutions and best practices and hopefully inspire some of you to do the same in your own city. The series is touching upon many topics such as local food, food waste, or like today, public procurement. You can have a look in the chat at the calendar of each episode. And if you want to sign up for one specific webinar, please follow us on our social media to receive the sign-up link. Next slide, please. Yes. So what about today? Today is the 5th webinar, and we're going to dive into the role of food procurement to foster more sustainable and inclusive cities, and how cities can actually make use of this great tool. So if you have been with us since the beginning of the webinar series, I assume that you all agree by now that, I assume that you all agree by now that cities have a pivotal role to play in building sustainable food systems, whether it is by shaping comprehensive food policy, engaging with stakeholders, or setting up anti-food waste strategy. Cities have a lot of action points they can leverage to encourage sustainable food consumptions. But another great tool that we haven't mentioned yet, and that cities have to institutionalize these values, is public procurement. Imagine you will be able to allow all children in your city to have access to organic, healthy, and sustainable meals every day at school. Imagine you can also allow all the employees of your city to eat local, seasonal, and yummy food when they come to work. This is exactly what food procurement aims to achieve, and this is exactly what we will try to show during today's webinar. So about today's webinar, a bit more information. First, we'll start with Betina. We'll walk you through the relevance and ways for cities to use procurement to bring cities' food policy into life. I will also then leave the floor to Nadia and Astrid, who will present how they successfully worked on food procurement in the city of Bergamo and in Bordeaux Métropole. Before I leave the floor to Betina, I'll give some extra logistics info. After the presentation of all of the speakers, we will have 20 minutes of Q&A, so at the end of the session. For all the participants, if you have any question, I will ask you to write them in the Q&A environment of Zoom. So if you have any questions that you write in the chat, we won't read them. So please write them in the Q&A section. And I'm sending an extra request to you as well already. We would very much like to collect your feedback for this webinar to see how interesting and relevant it was for you, and to also improve the coming webinars. So you can also fill this short form that I'm sending in. Yeah, so that's it for me. Thank you very much for being here again. And Betina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And I'm very delighted to be here and talk about public procurement, of course. Because as Astrid just says, this is what we love to do. Public procurement, this is so meaningful, and I want to tell you now why I think that it is one of the important tools that we can use to accomplish a more sustainable public food procurement. Next slide, please. Often I start with the slide you just saw before, where looking across the mountain, because as a procurement officer, I always say it feels sometimes like a lonely walk through the mountains. It can both be enriching and beautiful, but it can also be very hard sometimes when you think that you're walking on your own. But in municipalities and public settings, we have to do public procurement because we are spending the public money. So we have to put it out for competition. And this is a normal thing every public institution does, of course, regulated by EU law. But also when we look across the EU border, they also put things out for public procurement. So every time you do spend public money, you have to make a competition. It also accounts for, one of the numbers that I have is 16.3 GDP. It means that when we actually do something with public procurement, if we put in some sustainable criteria, we can actually move the market into a direction. We have a power to change things. Next slide, please. So once you do a public procurement, I sometimes also teach at a summer school, and I use this picture to tell about public procurement, because sometimes it can be, what is this and how is it working, and things like that. So in a municipality, you get the idea, I want to do a public procurement. Sometimes it's because you have a procurement that is running out, but also sometimes it's just because the politicians or whatever comes up with, we want to buy something. Of course, does not come as a sudden idea that we want to buy food. It's continuously, we do it all the time. So to do this in a good way, we create working groups and interest groups. We also talk with the market, so we collect a lot of information from everybody. What is it we want to buy? How do we want to buy it? What should it achieve? And then we combine all this. We start a writing processes, and this is where the procurement officers sometimes have a lonely journey on how to write this, all the things that they got from outside into the public tender that you have right at the bottom. So you write the public tender. There can be many different processes about this. We will hear some very brilliant examples today. We do it one way in Copenhagen, another way, but in Bordeaux and so on. But we all end up with doing brilliant material that the market then will give bid to. Once we receive a bid, then we will do an evaluation of the bid and we will find a winner. So it's not the one we like the most. It's of course the one who has give us the best bid. And often it is not just on price. It will be on many different criteria. It can also be sustainability. It can be taste. And each procurement has its own set of criteria. And then the delivery begins. Sometimes you negotiate a little in the middle, and then the whole process starts again and again and again. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit about procurement. And here is the important role of the procurement lawyer, because it all depends on what you put into the procurement. If you do not write sustainable green criteria or healthy food, if it's not what you put into the procurement, or you can even try to open it up for small and medium-sized enterprises, then you will not go to the green side. You will stay at the dry side and just buy whatever you bought last year. And you will not help the world to change. You will sometimes even be a burden. And that is what procurement officers are often accused of. But you can actually work with this. And this is what we saw in the FoodTrails project, that once we inspire each other on doing things more green, more inclusive and more sustainably, then we actually see things changing in the right direction. So the procurement officers can actually be the one holding some of the keys. Next slide, please. But we have to help each other. So it's the procurement specialist going together with some conversion agents, or somebody who knows how to cook differently, or somebody who's doing the food policy, or somebody who thinks about the food system in a little different way. Then having the market dialogue, talking with the market, what can they accomplish, but also talking with the kitchens, most importantly, because they are the ones using our contract. And if they do not want to use the contract, then all the work we did in the tender is a waste of time. So we have to use the kitchen. Also, combining all this makes us to have an opportunity to change. Next slide, please. So in the FoodTrails, we actually did the findings that we all face the same issues. Some of the cities says we do not work on procurement, but actually when we dig a little bit deeper, we could see everybody has some kind of procurement going on in the city, or figuring out how to if they didn't, maybe they should have, because then they could actually do some changes. So we have to find the procurement officers. I always say, follow the money, find where you buy public meals. Okay, who's doing the contract? And if nobody's doing it, well, find somebody who can do it, because you can actually use it. So you find the money, follow the money, find the contract, and then you find the person who's doing some work with it. Often they are located in the budget department or finance department. This is where I work. That is, I'm actually here to cut back budgets, but also to do it more sustainably. This is my passion now. I love to do my work. I of course love to get a good deal, but I also love to see it going more green in the right direction. We do it through market dialogue. You have to put the right market procurement criteria. We have to have a focus on packaging material, logistics, so on and so forth. In Copenhagen, we are, for example, 90% organic. That means our procurement is 100% organic when we make the procurement, because then at least they can reach 90% easily. And then, of course, it's all about contract management. Next slide, please. So we share, of course, this knowledge, because I'm so happy that I only work on procurement in Copenhagen, and it is food procurement. Not vehicles, not road salt, not diapers, not anything else. It's food, only food. So I got a lot of knowledge about the food system and how to do it. And if you turn this button, it will happen over here and things like that. So I can share my knowledge with all the other procurement officers, because often procurement officers do a lot of different kind of procurements when they do procurement. So I'm the nerdy one on food, and I can share my knowledge. We built a network in Denmark, and we are about 45 participants in this network, where we share ideas and knowledge on how to do procurement, but also how to do contract management. Next slide. So we want to share this, and within different EU projects, for example, Coach, this is where we open up our tenders towards small and medium-sized enterprises and farmers, but also through a project called Best Remap. Now it's called Joint Action NCD. We created these guidelines on how to make the world's most sustainable public procurement. It is made also with the finance of WHO, so you can actually use it here, and it's with the criteria that you can use right into your tender if you want. Next slide, please, because I think that was it for me. So now we have to walk together as procurement officers. We have to keep on inspiring each other, because I see once we start working together, I get inspired and they get inspired. So thank you for the work for me. That was hopefully it.
Thank you so much for Betina for this very clear and insightful presentation, and dive in the world of procurement. For those who haven't had the chance to get the QR code, don't worry. The recording will be available to you publicly afterwards as well, so you can have a look at all of these documents. Now I'm leaving the floor to Nadia from Bergamo, who's going to explain us how Bergamo did use their procurement for the best. Nadia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lucie. Good morning, everyone. I'm Nadia. I work in FoodTrails project, and also I am a member of a working group of food policy of the municipality of Bergamo. Next slide, please. How tell us the school canteens procurement helps Bergamo to improve our food policy? I start from our data, because we have a school canteen service provider. It's an external private company. The duration of contract, it is from 2020 to 2025. We have some 59 schools. Also, we have 19 schools with an internal kitchen and 47 by the cooking center. We started the FoodTrails project in 2020. Next slide, please. And in 2021, we launched our new school canteen tender. In this school canteen tender, we promote our Bergamo urban food policy because we put some of the instruction, some specification. For example, we put the school canteen provider must collaborate in the implementation of the Bergamo food policy. In our tender, we write this obligation, and especially increasing the quantity of local and organic food, implementing healthy and sustainable diet, collaborating with the municipality for organizing food and environmental educational activities, and measuring food waste and palatability of new dishes. Next slide, please. Yes, for example, in our tender, we put technical specification for 4 products. For example, we ask 100% for fresh fruits, legumes, etc., 70% of bread and the other products, and 30% of meat or fish. Next slide, please. We take a scheme to check their products, they were arrived, and if they are organic or social, etc. We have in our school canteens 90% of organic and 50% of local, because we put an extra criteria if they buy in our territory, like for the local products. Next slide, please. We also, for example, we have some data. For example, the cabbage in our school canteens arrived 30 kilometers from Bergamo. Salad also, it is near, close to Bergamo, it's 5 kilometers. In this scheme, we put our product and the distance from Bergamo to check if they respect this criteria. Next slide, please. This is our menu, because in our menu, our school canteens provider, they put a legenda. In this legenda, they sign, for example, with the logo, the green logo, the organic agriculture, fair trade, etc. Because every week, our parents know the specific product in their menu. And also in the box, we explain our green menu. It is our pilot action in the FoodTrails, and the links to our website of food policy. Next slide. Also, our school canteens provider collaborate with us in our pilot in FoodTrails action, and they have organized training for cooks and kitchen staff, because in our pilot we change some of recipes. We increase our protein, animal protein, and decrease, we increase the vegetable protein, animal protein. And they prepare also a graphic about green menu For this menu, it's an invite or it's sent to the parents, teachers, school canteens committees. Next slide, please. Also, this provider collaborates with us in our educational activities with the student, teacher, school canteens committee, and parents. Our school canteens provider support us with the product because they give us the product, with the school canteen center because we organize in the school canteen center, cooking center, the show cooking, informative sessions, and the other educational activity. And this provider support us because we put this specification in our tender and after in our contract. Next slide, please. Also, our school canteens provider realized a specific website about our school canteens in Bergamo. In this website, they put some of the news, menu, and events, also links to our food policy, because in our website, they have a link about on our food policy website. Next slide, please. For example, they prepare in the graphic or green menu, but also an article about a specific product, for example, lentils in this case, and they explain how it's important to eat lentils for the health, how important to eat lentils for the environment. And also we have the same article in our food policy website. These things, it is interesting because we put some of these indications, some of this instruction in our contract. Our providers support us in our food policy. Next slide. Also, we collaborate to monitor food waste because we change of our recipes, and they submit the survey, they prepare and they collect data to analyze the impact of new dishes, of new recipes about vegetable, legumes, product. And also they monitor the food waste because it's important to us to check this change. And this provider collaborate with us and analyze this data to submit for us to change something also in our food policy action, probably. Next slide. Yes, I finish. I tell you very quickly, which is the collaboration with our school canteens provider. Thanks, school procurement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nadia, and already well done to everything that you've achieved so far in Bergamo. I found it very inspiring. I now would like to invite Astrid to present what the Bordeaux Métropole is doing on these topics as well. Astrid, the floor is yours.
Hello, I'm Astrid Joubert. I'm a food officer in Bordeaux Métropole. Next slide, please. And I speak about our context. And in Bordeaux Métropole, we work for 28 municipalities. We are an area for the job, for the work in food policy. And the municipalities are in charge of catering for the school, and Bordeaux Métropole manage its staff restaurants, our staff restaurants, and Bordeaux Métropole is responsible for the procurement of a buying group for 13 municipalities from Bordeaux Métropole. And with its food policy, we aim to support the municipalities to work with the collective catering by sourcing of local food chain and meeting with local providers. Next slide, please. So in France, we have a law. We have a French law whose name is Egalim. and it's a positive national context. We initiative law to buy local food policy and a restrictive law for sustainable procurement in canteens. Two criteria, 50% of quality products with 20% of organic food, not only for local food. It's very important to know this criteria. Next slide, please. Key indicators in Bordeaux Métropole's collective catering. We have 65,000 meals per day in area of Bordeaux Métropole only for the school and Bordeaux Métropole agents. And in terms of food policy and food quality, we have 33 percent of organic products in 2022, and 48 achievement of national criteria of EGalim law in 2022 on the 28 municipalities of Bordeaux Métropole. Next slide, please. Bordeaux Métropole, in food policy, we have a politic is giving technical support to the municipalities. We have three main through a buying group, 25,000 meals per day in 13 municipalities. It's the first case. The second is by its municipalities like Civu Bordeaux Mérignac in 20,000 meals per day with direct management. They work the procurement only. And to conclude, the municipalities have external provider delegate to an external society, private society. So we have three main to have catering in Bordeaux Métropole in the 28 municipalities in Bordeaux Métropole. Next slide, please. In the food policy team, we have work for the municipalities to adapt public procurement, introduction of fair trade, for example, fair trade products, criteria in the future procurement in Bordeaux Métropole. We work about evolution of the tender of the buying group, ADARS, to have a small law, small farmers, small company of farmers to allow small providers to answer the procurement, to facilitate the access of local producer. And we work to reinforcement of the technical support to municipalities where we are in an external provider. And we have only, we can see we can see the graph with the EGalim objectives. Next slide, please. And in Bordeaux Métropole, we work in national policy with France Urbaine, French network for big city and metropoles. And we want to make a job to have procurement, more procurement to three stakes. We define food by integrating health and environmental issues. We need in Europe regulations the different requirements and open the free choice for how municipalities of procedure for 50% of annual volume of food purchase. And it's very important to municipalities in France to have local products because today we have very difficult to identify the origin of procurement in municipalities. Next slide, please. I think it's the end, and so we can see the team of food policy in Bordeaux Métropole. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Astrid, for this very clear presentation on how Bordeaux Métropole is also working on food procurement. Before I go to the questions of the participants, I myself have some questions for you. Maybe a bit for everyone, but yeah, mostly targeted to the cities, I would say. So both cities, from what I've seen, and also Betina, from your experience in Copenhagen, you all have set up quite extensive and ambitious list of criteria in shaping your food procurement. But I had a question on how does it work with the caterers that you are working with? Because I can imagine that the quite big institutionalized caterers are often not the ones that meet these criteria and are also quite slow to adopt these criteria. But on the other hand, maybe the smaller ones are maybe too small to provide the same level of service. And how would you how does it work as a city to support this change and this transition with the caterers? I don't know who wants to answer the question first. Betina, maybe.
Yeah, I can go first. For us, when we want to do changes and implement the political goals, we always start with a very slow market dialogue. We do one-on-one to begin with, and then when we are creating the procurement, we, after writing it, actually publish it as a draft for everybody to read and comment, so that there are no surprises. We prepare them of what is coming, and we also try to listen to them to see if they can meet our demand. And if not, then we try to say why not and what is it that blocks it. If we see it's possible on the market, then why not try to fulfill what we want? And often we actually often find that there's no burden in not, they really want to go and change also. They see the reason for it. So for us it is functioning actually, both with small ones and big ones. The problem with the small ones is often that they are not big enough. They do not have volume enough for us. So for example, we made a potato tender with one small farmer, or not small, but a smaller farmer, but he only delivers potatoes to our school meals right now, like one sitting, because he does not have time to deliver to 1,000 kitchens. So just our biggest one. So I think that was the answer for now.
Yeah, thank you, Betina. So indeed, talking a lot with everyone, including everyone in the process, and allowing flexibility then with the partners. Astrid or Nadia, is that also something you recognize in the way you are also working with caterers in working together towards achieving all these criteria? Nadia, maybe? Or Astrid, do you want to say something?
I can.
Yeah.
Only Italian answer. In Bordeaux Métropole, but in France in general, we work. We have a job with filière, producer, cooperatives, and for the procurement, to control the law, we control the law. It's not a problem. We need to work with the producer and the cooperative. We think the regroupment of the agriculture is necessary to answer in the food policy. In Bordeaux Métropole, we have a lot of needs, and we have a necessity to work with big enterprise, but we work with the filière producer to adapt the filière with the procurement, and it's necessary to have a dialogue into provider and collectivities to make the job, and it's okay. Like CV Bordeaux Mérignac, today we have 60% of organic products, and in the 60% we have 75% of Sud-West Bordeaux and the area of local products. But it's a work for 15 years to help the farmers to regroup an offer for the collectivities.
Okay, I see. Super interesting, Astrid. Thank you. Nadia, do you want to add up to this as well?
Yes, in Bergamo, we consider short supply with the 70 kilometers, and we have 100% of organic, fresh and vegetables and fruits, because we have a private logistic platform. They give us a quantity of our meals. And also for bread, we put 50%, 70%, but we arrive at 100% because we have some social project. They produce the breads in Bergamo, and to reach our quantity, we have talk about with the farmers, because when we started, many local farmers, they said, no, for us it's not, we prefer to sell to the citizens or the small quantity, because for us it's difficult to change our production. But with our school canteen provider, we program in advance their recipes, and they ask in advance quantity, for example, for the meats or fish or legumes, because they talk about the quantity it is need for Bergamo municipality. And now the situation is better than we started 3 years ago.
Indeed, yeah, it feels like it is indeed the iterative process. Thanks, Nadia. I think we have already some questions in the Q&A, so I'm gonna start to answer these. For the other participants who have questions but haven't written it yet, please write in the Q&A. And for people who wrote question in the chat, I also invite you to rewrite it in the Q&A part of Zoom. Thank you. So I have a question first from Gaia Maronili, asking how, I guess more specifically to the cities, how often do you monitor children's habits at school? I guess to do what they eat and to also shaping better than the menu of the schools.
In Bergamo, we monitor the palatability and food waste 1 week in December of our all school canteens, and 1 week in May, because we have finished our school canteens activities. And also when we finish the school canteens activities, we submit a specific survey about impact, or if they know something of new. But more or less 1 week in winter and 1 week in spring.
Okay, thanks, Nadia. Astrid, do you know how much you monitor children habits at schools?
Yes, but it's particularly because Bordeaux Métropole produce meals for the adult, and the municipalities make a survey for the children in their canteens, but Bordeaux Métropole haven't data in this case.
Okay, and then for the adults, how many times would you then monitor the satisfaction from the employees?
Yes, our colleagues in the officer makes one time a year, I think, answer into the agent, but we haven't the result, but we are going to see with her.
Thanks, Astrid. Okay, so now we have another question from Cecilia Casanato, asking about, more specifically about Bordeaux. When criteria are mentioned, is it actually procurement criteria, so 20% organic, 50% quality, or are the targets at national level, which are then translated into different tenders by buying specific products? So is it you, from what I understood, is it you who set up these criteria, or is it based from national level that then translates into how you have to define this criteria?
It's a specific law of in France. It's not Bordeaux Métropole law.
Okay.
So the data I make campaign, an annual campaign to have the data with the municipalities. In Bordeaux Métropole, we have the same objective, but we want to go more in organic products. So we have a program for the municipalities to make more organic products and vegetable products. But we need to have campaigns for municipalities to help her to have the more objectives between with the law, with the French law, Egalim.
Thanks, Astrid. Betina, is that asking from your hat of procurement expert? Would you say that it's defining this criteria is often comes first from the city, or more from national level that then city has to implement? And what is the most efficient or the most ambitious ones?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think both could work, but it also, I think we need to have high ambitions on all layers and levels, like all the way from the UN through the European Commission to the state level and then to the city level. There's so much that we can do within the city level. It's here we prioritize what we want to do. We are close to the citizens. This is where we actually can create the change and we can follow up on the changes. But it is easier for our local politicians to set these targets if we also have overall targets from either state level or even the Commission side. So sometimes it's easier to prioritize different from local politicians if we do not have any high targets. But both is doable within procurement. That's not a burden, but it's just the road is sometimes a little bit longer. Does it make sense? Oh.
Yeah, at least to me it makes sense. Thanks, Bettina. That maybe links to a question that I saw was in the chat from Roxana Triboy. Roxana, sorry if I misspelled mispronounced your last name. What would be the main blocking mechanism for enhancing local and organic food in school canteens, and then at what level? So is it more at local, national, EU, or international? Like Betina mentioned. Maybe you can make around Nadia. What would be for you the main blocking mechanism that you encountered?
The main blocking mechanism is sometimes the farmers they don't want to produce the high quantity for the school canteens provider, school canteens meal. But now it's better because they understand if we program our recipes, they can sell a high quantity of their products. But or the other problem is the catastrophe of climate change, because something we have the flood in Bergamo, in the territory of Bergamo, and the price of the products they increase. For example, another problem we have with the local products in the last period. For now, it is difficult.
Thanks, Nadia. Astrid, what are the main blocking mechanism that Bordeaux Métropole is facing to foster local and organic food?
For me, it's not a one answer. I think the procurement law, it's very difficult. We can control, we can make a job to have local product, etc. But maybe the knowledge of practice, of mechanism, it's the main reason. Because in my past, I worked for 15 years in the food catering and organic producer. to have more organic products in canteens. And I think today we need to have a real diagnostic in food catering to work about price, to work about sourcing, and to read the procurement to be more important in the local product. It's okay, but we can make a lot of work to have more local products. But the main reason for me it's knowledge of mechanism, I think.
Okay, indeed. Thank you, Astrid. We had also another question that Betina already answered, but I think it's also good to have your input on that. The question is from Johan de Ertz. How can you write short chain, for example, 25 kilometers from Antwerp, that's very specific, in a specification for tender or for procurement? Because we always hear that local cannot be a criteria because of EU rules. Is this correct? Betina, maybe you want to elaborate on your answer.
Yes, I see that. Of course, we cannot write local, because also I always try to say, why should we only like lock ourselves on local? Why not make sure that we have a fair and open competition for everybody? But of course, saying fair and open competition for everybody, we also want to open up our tenders towards small and medium-sized enterprises, also from the local area, not excluding them, not excluding anybody at all. So it's more about being open, making sure that the tenders meet the market where the market is, and also making sure that small and medium-sized enterprises and farmers from local area also have a chance to give a bid to your tenders. And then we have a responsibility, of course, to use public money as good as possible. So if they have the best quality compared with the prices, then they will win the tender. So why lock ourselves to 25 kilometers or 30 kilometers? I don't see the point. I like to try to open it. And actually we see, as a result of this, often we have interest from close by farmers, and they can win the tender also. So it's not impossible.
Thanks, Betina. Nadia or Astrid, do you want to add up something on that? On how you define local or not define local to also reach?
For us, short supply is 70 kilometers, and the local, it is national area. Because in Bergamo, for example, we don't produce orange. If the orange arrive from the Sicily, for us is local because it's national. Yeah. And also we put an extra point if they buy local products. It's not the main points or main criteria, the short supply.
Thanks, Nadia. Astrid, do you want to add something on that as well? No, everything has been said. Great, thank you. Maybe a follow-up question from Georgios then, asking if you also incorporate social criteria, so link with social enterprises according to EU directive, and can having this criteria also help with local, or with getting more local actors to apply or to get the tender. Betina, go for it.
Actually, in Denmark, we are not allowed to. In our national procurement law, we are not allowed to include social criteria as social enterprises. That is where Denmark is a bit more tight than the European law. On some other areas, furniture or something like that, I don't know, but on other areas it is allowed, but just not on food, which makes no sense, but that is how it is. So for us, we just put in as a criteria that they will have to open up the kitchen to employ people who has weak workforce abilities and things like that. So it is within the contract that they have to do this in the kitchen, but it's or in the warehouse or things like that. But it is not. They don't get extra points or anything. It's just a mandatory criteria.
Interesting, Betina. Nadia or Astrid, do you also play around this criteria, or is it also like in Denmark not allowed?
In Bordeaux Métropole, we have maybe criteria with the jobs only, or social enterprise, but we don't work in this criteria. We have a lot of criteria, but not this.
Fair. Thanks. Nadia, if you want to add something.
Yes, in our criteria of our product, there are social aspects from the product, especially the product arrived from the south of Italy, and we want to check these products.
I see. Okay. One last question on criteria. It's from Claudia Alves. Hi, Claudia. Asking, what do you consider to be the most effective public procurement criteria that shows the best results that you want to achieve? Can you have one only criteria, or is it a set of different criteria that combine each other? Betina, I see you nodding.
Yeah, for me, it's many different criteria, because that is what our politicians want. But one of the things I saw that was actually two. One of them is a climate weight, where you can put on like a positive weight. It's a positive thing on healthy food. So to promote the healthy food, you will give them a bigger strength within the procurement, and it also helps on the price actually on these foods. At least that's what we saw in Copenhagen. So that's an interesting tool to play with. And the other one where I also think it's an interesting tool is, of course, the testing of the food, the taste testing. It's important that we have great taste in our food. So it's an important criteria, I think. But we have so many different criteria that we're working on. But these two are some of the things where we see a big difference, actually. But if you work on sustainability, of course, also the organic criteria. And you can use the same criteria both on organic, value traded goods, MSC, ASC, where you can get them extra points on how many different produce they can offer you in each of these categories. And we actually saw last time we did this that I was surprised on how many value traded goods that we received, which I didn't know that they had. For example, sugar. We didn't ask for that in a fairly traded, we only normally ask for fairly traded coffee. But now we also got it in sugar and marmalade and vanilla. So it was a positive result. So I think we can use it as a driver for many things, but it depends on where your political focus is.
Thank you, Betina. Astrid or Nadia?
I'm very agree with Betina.
Fair.
Thank you.
Nadia, do you also share your opinion?
Me too. I agree with Betina, but also we have an extra point criteria in the specific educational activities, because with our educational activity, we saw very different eating habits in the last 2 years. Yes, for us, there are many schools, there are many municipalities ask us, yes, we want to change our school canteen standard. Give us some advice.
I see, with the idea of then having the caterer working more with the school and with the pupils. Great. Okay. I don't see any more questions in the chat or in the Q&A.
Actually, for the school canteen or the teaching, sorry, I'm running out of battery. That's why I'm working while we're talking. But we actually also did a movie about this, because we did this within the potato tender. So we can share a link, because it's actually just been published in English. So we can share that on how we worked with it in Copenhagen. So we will be putting that, forwarding it to you guys.
Perfect. That would be great. Yeah, I will make sure to send a recap email to everyone afterwards. So if you can also send me the link, I'll make sure to transfer it as well. You have one last question from someone that from an anonymous participant, asking that in the south of Europe, sometimes our food comes from unregulated migrant communities, Do you have special criteria to check if companies are complying with labor rights? Yes or no? I see everyone nodding. Nadia, you want to start?
Yes, because it's our product. They arrive from the south of Italy. Our product, they have logo, a specific logo. They respect the contract for the labor rights. It is a specific logo in the Italy, and we want our provider buy this product with this logo. And we check. We go to our magazine.
Great, thanks, Nadia.
That is smart. It's very smart with the logo. I wish we had one for the whole world, actually, because that would be much more simple. Then we could just ask for that, and then because we actually have a team that goes traveling. They select, I don't know what, but our wholesaler, they know that we have this team, and last time they went to check oranges in Spain to see, and we came unfortunately back and asked our wholesaler to change their sub-supplier on oranges because it was not good what we found. So we go there, see the working conditions, ask for documentation, and then change it if it's not good enough. But that is not, like one little drop in the water.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you all. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up this session. Thank you very much for all your input. Before I finish the session by sending all these other links, maybe I'll give the floor first to Betina, who has an exciting event to share with all of you.
Yes, because we are hosting a conference in Copenhagen. And with this QR code, you will be able to sign up, but you have to hurry because it closes very soon, the sign up. I think actually by Friday, and it's close to full. So, but we will be talking a lot more about the power of public procurement at this conference, and it's hosted actually by my mayor. He's very engaged in both school meals, but also procurement. He has been named within the Cities Feeding the Future initiative as a champion of procurement, and he's very proud of that. So he wanted to host a conference under this. So we do it within the FoodTrails together with Milan. We are organizing it, Cities Feeding the Future, and Roskilde University. And the EAT Foundation is also a part of this to create a very good conference, and we're looking so much forward. So hopefully I will be seeing much more of you there. We still have room for some. So please hurry up and sign up and join. It'll be fun. That was it.
Thank you, Betina. And yes, indeed, everyone sign up for this event. It's going to be very interesting. I'll finish with some more extra information. I'll share one more time, the calendar of all the coming episodes of the FoodTrails webinar. This month of June is going to be packed with Midday Munchies, with urban food policy. So please sign up to all of them because all of them are going to be super interesting. We are also working with the research of the project on a handbook for implementing urban food policy that will be prepared by the FoodTrails project and published at the end of the project around October. So yeah, follow us on the social media to also know and have access to this handbook once it will be published. Another interesting initiative that might interest some of you is about the Clever Food peer learning program. That is currently looking for 20 demonstrators to share experience and expertise in developing food policy labs and policy councils. And yeah, the demonstrators can be cities or other stakeholders and can then host other people or other initiatives to then share insight and experience. I'll also share the link in the chat if you're interested. And the deadline to apply is on the 21st of June. And yeah, I'll share one more time the very short survey to have your opinion on how this webinar went, how interesting it was or not, what can be improved, because we still have some webinars to organize, so we'll be very happy to have your feedback on this. So I hope you all found this the sessions as interesting as I did. and learned a lot on public procurement and on food public procurement. Thank you very much, Betina, Astrid, and Nadia for your participation. And yeah, talk to you soon, everyone. Have a nice day.
You're welcome.
And thank you to Matt, who's the man of the shadow, monitoring everything.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a nice day.
You too.
Bye. Thank you.